from Kern Government Television. Welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxton Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, December 6th, 2022, 2 p.m. meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We're going to first hear from County Counsel Margot Raison for a report on actions taken in closed session. Ms. Raison.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of your board. This morning you met on items 29 through 32, and there is no reportable action.
Thank you. We'll next consider the consent agenda. Agendas are located on the tables next to the two entrances for anyone wishing to follow along. All items listed with a CA above the item are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda and it will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. I will read the consent agenda items now. Starting on page 2, items 3, 4, and 5 are on consent. On page 3, all items 6 through 8 are on consent. On page 4, all items 9 through 11 are on consent. And on page 5, all items 12 through 18 are on consent. And on page 6, all items 19 through 24 are on consent. And finally, on page 7, all items 25 through 31 are on consent. And so at this time, I'll ask if there's any members of the audience that have any questions or comments on any of the items on the consent agenda. Okay, seeing none, I'll return to the board and ask if there's any questions or comments. Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. Next, we'll return to page 2 on our agenda. This is item number 1, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct the staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. And I'll ask now if there's any members of the audience that would like to make a public presentation. You are limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Ralph Robles. I am a veteran. I've been coming to your meetings for months to urge you to authorize and conduct a forensic audit on the latest 2 elections. Today, David Shepard, candidate for State Senate District 16, also called for an audit. This county is becoming well known for its long, dragged-out ballot counts. It doesn't seem to embarrass you that a country like Brazil, with millions of ballots to be counted, managed to do it in less than a week, whereas we are still a month overdue. The state of Florida took less than a week to count its ballots, which were around 7 million, I believe. Even Mexico, a so-called failed state, has completed its elections in a more timely fashion. Arizona, like California, has a late and odious count. It is currently being challenged by governor candidate Kari Lake. Across the country, people are challenging corrupt ballot counts. There is a growing call for election reform. Kern County can be a leading edge in this wave as it grows, or it can find itself rolled over by this same wave. I urge you again to do a forensic audit on the last 2 elections. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hi, Paul Infesti. I'm going to sound like a little bit of a broken record right now, but I just want to let you know that there are differing opinions about our election system, and I happen to have full faith in the Kern County Elections Office under Mary Bedard, and I'm sure that will continue with our next county clerk election official. And ballot counting, to be accurate, sometimes takes a long time, especially when the vast majority of ballots coming in from people, both Democrat and Republican, and the other parties as well as independents are voting by mail these days. I mean, was it like 80, 90, maybe 90% were coming in that way? It takes a lot longer to count those ballots than it does through the machine tabulations at night. So anyway, I'm not going to take any more of your time. I just want to say that some of us do believe in the honesty, integrity of that office. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Gordon Lake, Deputy Public Defender here in Kern County.
I'm sorry, can you state your name again? I didn't get it.
Gordon Lake,
Thank you.
Deputy Public Defender. Here in Kern County, been here for 4 years. I love this job. I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. I'm a baseball fan as well. For those of you who know baseball, we have the Oakland A's in California, and they're notorious for developing young talent, and then before they are at the signing point in their career, they are oftentimes shipped out, and that team is in a free fall, essentially, in a pattern in which they lose the best talent every year. And that is something that we often face in this job as a Deputy Public Defender. We lose a lot of talent, and there are many reasons for that. I believe my colleagues behind me will be sharing. But basically what I want to say is, as a public defender here in Kern County, which is one of the best counties, if not the best county to be a public defender, I don't want us to turn into the Oakland A's. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name's Crystal Ratliff. I'm a deputy public defender in Kern County for the past 10 years. My entire caseload is made of clients with mental health disorders, developmental disabilities, and other cognitive impairments, such as traumatic brain injury or dementia. The state legislature has, in recent years, put heavy emphasis in protecting the rights of these extremely vulnerable clients. These have included new mandates for criminal mental health diversion and programs like Care Court and Laura's Law, which serve to keep people out of involuntary civil commitments. There have also been major changes to the law on conservatorships. Effective this January, the types of conservatorship cases where the court is mandated to appoint the public defender will expand significantly. This may double the number of conservatorship cases where the court is required to appoint us. We have a responsibility to protect these clients from people who would take advantage of them. Attorneys appointed on these cases must maintain special certification, which requires 3 years' experience to attain. When we must start staffing our mental health unit with more attorneys, and in my opinion, it is a matter of when, not if, we will need to assign experienced, certification-eligible attorneys without detrimental effect to our criminal defendants who also require experienced attorneys. These assignments will require a level of experience and certification that would be extremely difficult to achieve given our current retention levels. On the day I started with 5 other new deputy public defenders, and I'm the only one left out of my group. Our data shows very clearly that the deputy public defenders who leave for coastal counties. 40% of them have gone to Los Angeles, so we're training attorneys for Los Angeles County. Not a single deputy public defender who's left over the past years has gone to a Central Valley public defender location. To retain attorneys we pay to train, we need salaries that are competitive with counties like LA, Ventura, and Orange County. We have a duty to your constituents to provide effective and zealous representation to all of those who need us. Help us fulfill that duty by authorizing competitive pay for our deputy public defenders who dedicate their lives to helping their fellow citizens here in Kern County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who'll be next, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Christina Matias, and I've been with the Public Defender's Office for over 20 years. than our paltry 2.5% COLA that we received in July, in the middle of high inflation, our pay in Kern County has not kept up with our other options throughout the state. As attorneys, we are licensed to practice anywhere in the state. Our jobs are highly portable. We can work anywhere in the state. We have chosen to work here. Most of us are already transplants. We come from other locations and we decide to make a living here. Most of us came here with very little interest in staying here long term. Most of us come here to gain our experience and leave. Some of us stay here and we enjoy it and we like it here and we want to continue to stay here and make a difference in our community, in our judicial system. It used to be that our entry-level pay attracted people here and our earning potential retained the experienced talent long-term. That is no longer the case. We just aren't getting the high quantities and high quality of applicants that we used to. Even though there's a law school here in Kern, it's small, and most of its graduates are not interested in local public defender work or DA work. We need both in order to effectively represent the victims of the community, to effectively represent the defendants in this community. We need both sides, and both sides are hurting. We need to attract people from outside of Kern, and our salaries prevent it. Once people start here, as mentioned, they have very little interest in staying here long term. Our people overwhelmingly leave for lucrative areas like Los Angeles and the Bay Area.
Ms. Matias, your time has expired. If you could please bring your comments to a close.
Yes, just asking for you to give HR the authority to do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, honorable members of the board. My name is Jab Gill, and I've been a Kern County employee for almost 10 years now, with the last year and a half of that at the Public Defender's Office as a Deputy Public Defender. I'm here today to ask the board to support an increase in the salaries of Deputy Public Defenders. Over the years, our salaries have fallen behind the competitive market, resulting in the recruitment and retention issues that we're facing now. As it was mentioned earlier, there's a new law school in town, the Kern County College of Law, that opened its doors in 2017 and graduated its first class in December of 2020. I'm part of that inaugural class. Since the school opened, KCCL has produced 13 local attorneys. Unfortunately, however, I'm the only one of those 13 who chose to work at the Public Defender's Office. And if I'm going to be honest, even my decision was impacted by the fact that I already had a decade into the Kern County retirement system and the deferred comp system. I love working for the Public Defender's Office. It gives my colleagues and I an opportunity to practice law and to defend the constitutional rights of Kern County residents. However, in the year and a half since I've been here, I've counted at least 10 attorneys who have left their positions for other opportunities. That's almost 20% of the total attorneys on staff. And it's important to note, almost all of those attorneys have left to other public defenders' offices across the state, but not a single one of those attorneys left Kern County to any of the 5 counties that the Human Resources Division used in their salary study to justify not giving us a raise. Recruitment and retention of the at the Public Defender's Office is a significant problem, and it's a problem that won't be solved without an increase in pay. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Rupak Shah. I'm a Deputy Public Defender. I want to talk a little bit about my job. I work in the preliminary hearing unit at the Public Defender's Office. The reason my job exists, approximately 60 years ago, the United States Supreme Court said it's a fundamental right. Joining those fundamental rights, such as the right to press, religion, assembly, association, petition for redress of grievances, and more recently, the right to bear arms, right against unreasonable searches and seizures. The manner in which I conduct my job is that I must provide effective assistance to counsel. What that means in reality is that I meet with clients. I get the discovery, I redact it pursuant to California law. I do investigations. I learn favorable things about my clients. Do they provide child care? Do they work? Do they pay taxes? Do they care for relatives? Are they actually guilty of a crime in a way in which the prosecution can prove. Lots of the people that I see in Department 14, which is the preliminary hearing unit, are there based on an accusation. Many of those accusations are false, and a lot of times a police officer is just repeating what someone said, and that's what's being used to bring charges. A lot of those people are in there because of that accusation. Many of them are in custody. I conduct research. Failure to conduct research on an integral part or issue of law constitutes ineffective assistance of law, or ineffective assistance of counsel. And then I negotiate. When I do my job effectively, I find which charges are not supported by the evidence or cannot garner 12 votes. I use those in negotiations. Trials cost money. People will not take plea deals and will take matters to trial if they think their attorney did not do their job and investigate properly. We find which defendants are being held in custody that will, in fact, appear in court and are not a danger to the public. We file bail motions. Incarceration costs money. We help determine through investigation which defendants are appropriate candidates for probation, supervision, or mandatory supervision. Again, incarceration costs money. So when you all are considering whether to raise our salaries, please consider that we provide actual value that affects the finances of the county government. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Mona Sidhu. I'm a deputy public defender. I started as a deputy public defender in this county 3 years ago. The day I started, 4 of us signed on. I'm the only one left. That was only 3 years ago. This is not long-term retention problem. We're having short-term retention problems. One of the people went to, the most recent departee went to the Indigent Defense Panel, which is the other body of lawyers that takes cases for indigents. Our office provides a mandatory service. It is not discretionary. This county has to provide those services. You can do it most efficiently and appropriately through our office, having a thriving public defender's office. And in order to do that, you need to retain the people that you have, that you hire on. Several human relations and human resources organizations have estimated that about 38% of people leave because of salary issues, and that it costs an organization 6 to 9 months of an employee's salary to replace them. It costs you money every time somebody leaves. We are becoming a training facility for other counties. I don't think that's what the current taxpayers want us to be. When I worked up north as a public defender many years ago in Contra Costa County, we lost a lot of people to San Francisco. In fact, the current head of the San Francisco office started while I was in Contra Costa. The fact that a county knows that you're losing people and doesn't take steps to fix that problem just means you've decided that you're okay with being a training ground for Los Angeles. I work up in Mojave. I've worked there for the last 3 years. We're at the border of LA County. Mojave's a hard office to staff. I've been there for 3 years. I'm happy to be there. But when I leave, and I'm not a young person anymore, when I leave, somebody will need to take over that spot. And people who live on that end are more than happy to get jobs in LA rather than come here or commute from Bakersfield to Mojave. So I ask this board to take seriously the effect on the budget for this county by continuing to train people for other counties.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. I'm T. Allen Rogers, members of the board. Thank you for your time. I just want to briefly talk about the value of retention of experienced attorneys. And I think it has both an economic value to the county, but also it has a value of service, of having people who have experience. I actually think D.A. Zimmer said it best in her letter to the editor, Partners in Justice, with the important work that's both required but also necessary when you have a public defender's office that vigorously defends people and takes matters to trial, because police arrests are just the start of a criminal justice case. There are also 2 important factors I'd ask you to consider that make Kern County unique as far as why you need a viable, experienced public defender's office. The California Attorney General's office found last year that Kern County had the highest rate of homicides in the state of California. It was 120% higher than the second highest, which is San Joaquin County. And also, as many of you know, the FBI found last year that the city of Bakersfield had a 7% increase in what they call Part 1 crimes, which are homicides, robberies, and rapes. And the rights of the victims and the rights of the accused often need the criminal justice system to sort that out. The reality of why it's cost effective to have experienced attorneys is twofold. First off, if you have people leaving and handing their cases to other people, you're reinventing the wheel and you're having the work done again and again by different people. The second reason to have an experienced attorney is because you want the work done right. You don't want to have it so that people are wrongfully convicted or that victims don't have their day in court. I'd ask this board to consider just a competitive wage for the workers here at the Public Defender's Office and the District Attorney's Office. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Andreas, and I am an attorney with the Public Defender's Office. Our office was identified as a difficult area to recruit attorneys and an even more difficult area to retain attorneys. I myself attended law school in San Diego and moved here in 2014 for a legal job, although it wasn't with the Public Defender's Office. Initially, I thought I'll move to Kern County for 2 or 3 years, get experience, and then move back to San Diego. And while I ended up really enjoying the community here and value a lot of the reasons that I chose to stay in Kern County, during that time I saw numerous colleagues and friends essentially do what I had planned to do, which is get the experience, have these local offices train them, and then leave, mostly to LA County, Orange County, and the Bay Area. And I think that my colleagues have spoken about how much that really impacts us economically to be training these attorneys that then take that experience and go elsewhere. But I'm also have seen firsthand how attorneys leaving impacts clients and their comfort level with navigating the legal system. I work in the juvenile division, and we represent kids dealing with delinquency that are accused of committing crimes. And we also deal with children that have been removed from their homes by CPS. And in both of those circumstances, most people navigating the court process are going to find it fearful, confusing, but especially with children. And when they really benefit from having experienced attorneys and having the same attorney. They've gone through traumas most of the time, and some of them are going through traumas while going through the court process. And so it really benefits those children to have attorneys that have been there through the process with them, that understand them, that know their family background, that know what their struggles are, what their successes are, that can really advocate for them. So we would just ask that you really consider that in authorizing the county to present a compensation packet for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Robin Walters, and like Lindsay, I work out in the juvenile division. I'm one of 7 public defenders working in that division. I currently represent 391 children. They are under the jurisdiction of the court because of parental neglect or abuse. Sadly, we all know that these children are far more likely to end up homeless, drug addicted, undereducated, or incarcerated than children with a stable home life. Thus, it is incumbent upon myself and my fellow public defenders to make certain they receive the supportive services and the appropriate living situations to set them up for success. Attorneys, as Ms. Andreas indicated, represent these children often for many years. I have kids I've represented from elementary school to the age of 21. This means we truly know our kids and their needs and are best able to advocate for their interests and assist them on a path to successful adulthood. It also means we need to not only recruit great attorneys, we need to retain them. That's what we have failed to do. Attorneys come here, get trained, and then, as you have heard, leave for better pay to Los Angeles and the Bay Area. We spend our county's money training lawyers at the cost of our own ability to keep talent. This means our children lose. I'm sure you are all pleased with the passage of Measure K. I personally am also very pleased. As deputy public defenders, we are an integral part of public safety. Whether it is, as in my case, helping kids reach their full potential and become successful adults, or whether, as other deputy public defenders do and have explained to you, getting clients into drug treatment, getting their mental health assessments and the treatment and services they need, or getting people out of costly jail cells who have no business being incarcerated. We are an integral part of the public safety equation. I ask you to consider this and encourage HR to do the right thing by the dedicated public defenders who serve this county.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Can I say something, Zach, really quickly?
Supervisor Perez.
Robin, thank you for your help on Measure K.
Thank you.
Very meaningful in many ways, but thank you.
Nadine Escalante. Dear Kern County Board of Supervisors, on behalf of the Kern County Criminal Justice Coalition, we write in support of the Kern County Public Defender salary increase and caseload review requests before the Board of Supervisors. The PDO request is not new. They are numerous. Over other county organizations and advocates have urged the board to reevaluate how it allocates the community's funds. This letter of support follows the budget request we and other local community partners have made over the past years, including hire an in-house immigration attorney, the Padilla attorney, allocate sufficient funds to the PDO to provide legal counsel at all arrangements. Sorry. These investments will help the county meet its legal obligation to provide the effective legal counsel for indigent defendants and end up saving the county money in the long run. Kern does not have an in-house Padilla attorney who represents immigrant defense in all stages of the proceedings. I'm just going to read. I can't do this. I wanted to say this letter here is put together by our Kern County Criminal Justice Coalition. We're asking for an immigrant attorney to be assigned to the Public Defender's Office, as well as that a public defender be assigned to all arraignment hearings. As an individual who's been in jail and been not given an attorney and had to take a plea to a case that I was not guilty of, this is why we need our public defenders. I was not home with my children. I was in my jail cell praying for God to let me out. These people need a raise. They need lighter cases, and the county needs to step up the money. You guys have the money. It's time that we start putting it towards the people in our community who rightfully deserve it.
Thank you. Any other speakers, please?
Good afternoon. Rosa Lopez. I work for the ACLU office here in Bakersfield, but I'm also a member of the Criminal Justice Coalition and several other partners who have been advocating alongside the public defenders, and we are here in support of their demands. Some of the things that I want to highlight, and sorry, I lost my that I want to uplift is that through our collaboration, we did a quick analysis on comparing investments into law enforcement, specifically the Sheriff's Department and the Public Defender's Office. And I just want to highlight some things that we found. Last year alone, the Kern County paid over $14 million in overtime compensation for the sheriff deputies. During the same time period, not one single public defender attorney received any overtime pay. The annual cost of a single Kern County deputy is approximately $200,000, about 25% higher than the cost of a public defender. Public defenders are required to be practicing attorney, meaning they must have a law degree and be licensed by the state of California Bar Association. And earlier this year, the Kern County announced that Kern County announced a $25,000 recruitment bonus program to attract certified sheriff deputies from other jurisdictions. They also offered a $15,000 bonus to attract deputies trainees. Despite facing similar staffing and retention challenges for the public defenders, the county has not made similar efforts or investments to recruit and retain attorneys. Pay disparity for public defenders and other appropriate department investment are required to fundamentally ensure that we are protecting people's constitutional rights. By investing, supporting the public defender's demands, we will be meeting our legal obligation and supporting indigenous communities and immigrant communities. So we want to reiterate and support the demands, and this is not separate from the previous demands that we made at budget advocacy. So I hope you really consider this. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers this afternoon?
Chairman Scrivener, Board of Supervisors, my name is Vince Mayoko. I've made several Board of Supervisor public presentations this year in regards to the performance of the Kern County Election Office. Each of you should have a screenshot copy of the Kern County Election Office website, which was from November 9th. With the 2 Kern County ballot drops after polls closed on November 8th and the early morning of just November 9th, there were approximately 56,000 votes counted for the governor's race here in Kern County. As you can see, the Kern County Elections Division posted an estimated ballots remaining to be processed on their website. It was stated that there were 106,683 unprocessed ballots left to be counted in Kern County. Combining that with the number of 56,000 ballots already counted, that gave the grand total, and the 106,683 ballots left to be counted adds up to 162,683 total votes for the governor's race. As of the latest ballot drop on December 2nd, there have been 188,216 total votes counted in Kern County for the governor's race alone, and there are still counting ballots. That's over 25,000 estimated votes counted from November 9th. I have 2 questions. Why were they so far off on their estimates, and where did these 25,000 additional ballots come from? This is just another example of the many concerns I have for the Kern County Election Office. I highly suggest there be an audit for this election and find out why our election office found these extra 25,000 ballots. We have reached a point where the election office must be decoupled, as I've mentioned before at other meetings, and taken away from the auditor-controller umbrella. I personally think the best option is to have a person head up the election office for the Board of Supervisors and for the Board of Supervisors to appoint one, much like Tulare County does. In order for this to happen, Kern County would have to become a charter county. Aside from this option, there are other benefits to becoming a charter county. Should a supervisor not be able to serve their entire term, the voters of Kern County would be allowed to have a special election to appoint that successor. As it is right now, if that were to happen, the governor of California would appoint the successor. Also, with Kern County's large geographical territory and growing population, we could, in theory, increase the number of supervisors from 5 to 7. Thank you so much for your time and opportunity to speak on this matter.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Scrivener, Board of Supervisors. My name is Tom Pavich. I'm with the Election Integrity Project. I'm the Kern County Coordinator. I'm here today to read into the record a letter that I submitted to Mary Bedard, Registrar of Voters. Dear Ms. Bedard, please refer to my letter dated April 26, 2022, copy attached, in which I made a request for the list of all 309,143 voters in the November 3rd, 2020 election. I requested the voter ID number, voting method, poll, mail, etc., and current status, active, inactive, canceled, pending. At the April 26, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting, you committed to providing that list to me after the primary election when the workload had decreased. I did not receive the list. Please refer to my email dated July 8th, 2022, copy attached, in which I made my second request to provide me with a list of voters who voted in the November 3rd, 2020 election. I made that second request after the primary election was over, which is when you committed to providing me with that list. I did not receive the list. I have yet to receive that list I requested. The general election is now over. and we have now completed a second election cycle, and I am again requesting that list of voters. I urge you, Board of Supervisors, to encourage Mary Bedard, Registrar of Voters, to complete my simple request. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers this afternoon?
Excuse me, Clerk Kraus, here's a copy.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Couch.
My name's Gary Simmons.
I'm sorry, Mr. Simmons, can you wait just 1 second?
Pardon me?
Could you hang on just 1 second? Mr. Alsop, can you get the list for us and provide it to Mr. Pavich? Can you request that?
I'd be happy, Supervisor Couch, through the chair, I'd be happy to talk to Ms. Bernard about getting that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please proceed.
My name's Gary Simmons. I've only been here once or twice, a good listener, trying to determine what all the complaints are about regarding the communication or lack of communication with this voter integrity issue. And the voter integrity issue goes further than a computer system. This is very ironic. I have a letter here that I sent to the Board of Supervisors and Mary Bedard about 270 days ago with zero response. Other than a question coming from Mary Bedard's office from a staff member if I represented the news media. And I said, no, I don't. That's the last I heard. I was in Mr. Maggart's office. I was assured that somebody from Mr. Maggart's office, because I live in your district, would be contacting me in a few days. 270 days gone by and nothing's happened. No contact. I'm not here to argue. I've been a management consultant in a very difficult industry for my profession. I've got 1,200 clients nationally in 40 states. And we work with billions of dollars and millions of dollars of difficult situations by evaluating the efficiency of operating systems, operating people, the integrity, the dignity, the facts, the truth. All we're attempting to do here is to sit down logically with a group of intelligent people and try to make some determination where the solutions are. There are a lot of problems. There are a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of blame game. We just want to sit down and listen to and provide assistance with a group of very professional people to attempt to find a solution to this. Problems have all been identified over and over and over. It's getting old. We need to develop a solution to it. I'm willing to do that, and I'm willing to put a group of professional people together. We've done it here in the city of Bakersfield multiple times in the last 3 years, and we can do it again. That's what I have to offer, and I do expect to hear from your office. Thank you, sir. At least you smiled. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers this afternoon? Okay, seeing none. Then we will move on to board member announcements or reports. Do we have anything from the board? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Mr. Simmons a question?
Supervisor Maggart.
Mr. Simmons, would you mind jotting your phone number down on a piece of paper and handing it to Mr. Alsop, the fellow over here, so I know what number to call you back at?
That was quick.
Yeah.
270 days later.
Yeah, that's all it took. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other board member announcements or reports and having no additional items to consider, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to December 9th at 9 a.m. for a special meeting.
So moved.
We are adjourned.
pretty intense experience, but zero hesitation to key turn.